Or obstacle, determinist, eschatologist, irregular apocalypse. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Profit margin, nervous energy, prostatic conscience, revisionist, trade surplus, the ends of invention. The hand of God 137, clear turbulence, control surface. Cargo cults, little rascals, so much for subtlety. Unfortunate conflict of evidence. Youthful indiscretion, flexible demeanor. Just read the instructions, of course I still love you. Sailor, limiting factor, gunboat diplomat. Kiss my ass, prime mover, screws, invincible. Back for business, ablation arbitrary, arrested development, a series of unlikely explanations. A ship with a view, big sexy beast, boo. Cantankerous credibility problem, dramatic exit, excuses and accusations. Funny you worked last time. God told me to do inhalation effect. I need it all, helpless in the face of your beauty. Here's the art I thought it was with you. It'll be over by Christmas. Just another victim of the ambient morality. Graffiti, Minority Report. Never talk to strangers, no one in a boy yet. Only slightly bent, sacrificial victim, space monster, stranger. Hear myself synchronized to dark mass. Thank you and good night. The precise nature of the catastrophe. Ultimate shift to second, undesirable alien, unwitting accomplice. Well, I was in the neighborhood. No thank you later, you would if you really love me. Congenital optimist, taxes and everything. All other civilian applications. Just testing sweet or full of place. Very little gravitas indeed. Xenophobe, the antested version of a new lover's arrival. Death and gravity. It's raining, escape. Uninvited guest to psychology. Where's the answer and why? Waste on my time and starting angels. Zero gravitas, not invented here. Resurface series, dollars only steely glaze. Different time, phase and levels of change. Gray area. It's character falling, John Stopper. Problem child, reasonable excuse. Recent convert, tactical grace. Unacceptable behavior. Attitude adjuster. Heaviness in killing time. Missing killing time. Stranger feels to fall, just passing through. I blame your mother for refund. Quietly confident, no fix the boat. I point, shoot them later. Appeal to reason, break even. Long view, peace makes plenty. Sober counsel within reason. Front spear, furious purpose. Kiss the blade, little on sack slicker too. Wing clipper, see no class, see drill, don't try this at home. See no glosses, subtle shift in emphasis. Catalyst on 15 Jerry Facilis. A double waking spiral coalesces. Bring down against the fortress. The 100 radiant dressed up to party Pelagian. Sentiment madness without its folly. Total internal reflection. Armchair traveler bodies up for OX. Falling outside the normal. No constraints. No one knows what the dead think. Allosaurus, the visual but empty. Melodically unsatisfactory. Beastly to the animals. Fixed brain hidden in code. Star glamour lights break confound me. I'm doubting. Messenger of truth. Anxious person. Rubric of rule. Uncivil star. Vision of hopes. Past. Total value. Creating a forward. Right about reify disregard. Lost the language for verses. Just a washing instruction chip. The last problems, unreliable witness passing by. If I drop in pressure drop, the call is clean displacement activity. Considering anything legal, consider. Lost glue in this creative island for running on our floor. Melancholia in the streams of trials. Sharing dissonance. Exaltation passing only through. Questionable ethics. Learn to spot.